a new chapter begins for Rochester City Schools.
For me, this is about high-quality opportunities, high-quality instruction, and high-quality facilities.
Nearly a dozen city schools and 5 buildings will close by next year under a sweeping district reconfiguration intended to realign the district's physical footprint with declining enrollment. A plan met with some opposition.
Keep school too, in school too.
Our fear is that our children are going to be absorbed into schools where they're unfamiliar, causing trauma to their well-being and disrupting their lives.
This is difficult. This is not something that we are taking lightly. But we do see the enrollment numbers, and we do have to, as responsible leaders of this district, we have to make some of the tough decisions.
The district's vision for the future is to provide better opportunities for students. Tonight, what impacted families need to know about the next steps in a 13 WHAM special report. RCSD's Invest in Tomorrow. The rollout of the Rochester City School District's reconfiguration plan is now underway. Good evening. I'm Matt Malloy.
And I'm Karen Edwards. For the next 30 minutes, 13 WHAM will take a closer look at the plan, its impact on students and teachers, and the next steps for families.
Tonight, we will be joined by Rochester School Superintendent Dr. Carmine Peluso, School Board President Cynthia Elliott, as well as an RCSD student impacted by those upcoming changes.
But first, a closer look now at the plan.
Back in October, the Rochester City School Board approved a reconfiguration plan that closes 11 schools and several buildings next school year. The closures include 6 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 2 high schools. 5 buildings will close, and 5 new schools will open.
Now, beginning in the fall of next year, there will be 3 school zones in addition to the citywide zone. In the South Zone, there will be 6 elementary schools and 1 middle school. In the Northeast, there will be 9 elementary schools and 3 middle schools. And in the Northwest Zone, there will be 6 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. There will be 4 elementary and 2 middle citywide schools, and all 9 high schools are citywide.
2 elementary schools, pre-K through grade 6, are moving. School 25 moves to 190 Reynolds Street, and school number 53 moves to Dr. Walter Cooper campus on Congress Avenue in the 19th Ward. 21,711 students are currently enrolled in city schools in grades pre-K through 12, but there's an operating capacity of more than 37,000.
Declining enrollment is one of the reasons this plan was put into motion. We are joined now by Rochester School Superintendent Dr. Carmine Peluso and Board of Education President Cynthia Elliott. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having
us.
us.
Thanks for having
us.
First question is for you, Dr. Peluso. Why exactly specifically was this choice made? Because it wasn't just about declining enrollment, right?
Well, we had to address declining enrollment. We've been declining over the last, 10 years. We've seen a steady decline. Our families have more choices, and they're showing that by what choices they're currently making. And we had to be able to work within our capacity. Currently, we're stretched so thin where we're using about 50% of our buildings to capacity, and we've invested a lot of money in those. And we want to make sure our families and our kids are taking advantage of the facilities we've updated. They also need to have high-quality certified teachers in front of them, which is extremely important because we're stretched so thin, we're struggling to find resources, and then also to operate within our capacity. The long-range financial implications of running the district how we're running will cause the district 5, 6 years down the road to be in a similar situation we were in about 5 years ago, where we were strapped for money and cash, and we had to go to the state and ask for some support.
Cynthia, we've seen some of the protests that have happened in opposition to this plan, and you yourself admitted at a board meeting that this was a very difficult decision for the board members. Being that it's difficult, why does it make sense, though? Why does this have to happen for the district in order for everyone to succeed here?
If we're going to sustain the district long term, we have to make this decision. We have scarce resources.
On the state level, their resources are scarce, and we have to do our due diligence financially for the taxpayers. And so this makes sense that if we have capacity of 37,000 students, but we only, in 2030, 32 is projected to be at 14,000, then we have to ensure that we are reducing our footprint to save the taxpayers' dollars as well.
For both of y'all, how will this plan directly improve things for students? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think if you have highly certified teachers in front of our kids, right, that's very important, right? That's the single most important factor in terms of how a kid performs educationally. It also helps us use our high quality facilities. Like the facilities that we've gone through facilities modernization in Plan 1 through Phase 1 through Phase 2, we're now entering Phase 3. The state has invested $1 billion in those resources, into those facilities. And those buildings are top notch. I put them up against anyone, right? Every kid deserves to have access to those high quality facilities, and we want to make sure we're maximizing them. It also allows us the opportunity to provide enrichment and extracurricular activities that are hard to do when you're stretched all across the district and you're very thin. So it really helps increase opportunities for our kids, better instruction, and maximizes our facilities.
So I think that it is going to help us to be more efficient with the resources. And to what Dr. Peluso has said, we provide those high quality services in a more efficient way. We're not scattered all over the place and trying to put dollars in this program or dollars in this program, but that we can be focused and have a laser approach to the offerings that we have. And so I think that becomes an exciting opportunity that we can do that and in that see the kind of continued results that we've started to see this year. As you probably know, that we've increased our scores by 5 percentage points for this year. While that is a very low number, but it's going in the right direction. And this is an opportunity for this reconfiguration to help us to increase those scores even more.
I think whenever you see an overhaul like this, you're going to find some opposition, concerns, questions. We saw that from families, from teachers. What feedback did you get from both families and teachers that helped you with this reconfiguration plan for both of you? I'll start with Dr. Peluso there.
Closing schools is it's my least favorite thing I'd ever want to do, right? Yeah. I don't want to close a school. I don't want to disrupt a family. I don't want to disrupt a school community. I don't want to disrupt a child's education, right? It's not something that you take lightly as a superintendent, and you do as when you have to and you're faced with some tough decisions. I think some of the oppositions we heard was just that, right? We're breaking up family communities, you're hurting a structure, but we needed to make some adjustments. And what I'll say is, organizationally wise as a district, we were scattered, right? We had some K-8 buildings, we had some K-6 buildings, we had some 7-12 buildings, we had some K-12 buildings, and organizationally we just weren't sound. We had people across the district attending schools all over the place, and really what we're trying to do is make some logical sense of how the district's organized, so our families know, our community knows what schools they're going to be attending, where they're going to go, where they transition to. So there's a lot to the reorganization, declining enrollment, capacity, how our schools are organized, all influence and have an impact on those.
Cynthia, is streamlining a good word when it comes to part of this reconfiguration plan, so that the district is streamlined in terms of how you are addressing student needs and education?
Yeah, but I don't want to undermine the social connection to the school. My own personal story, when I was on the board, when Jean-Claude Brizard presented to the closure of School 14, I went to 7th grade there. So even decades later, there still was an emotional connection because I had friends who attended there. So we get, how our families are feeling. But as I said, it's a difficult choice that we have to make, and we have to make it, even though, even for me, with the closing of 14, that's still hurts me.
Important to recognize the hurt the families may feel.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and piggybacking off of that, it was a big decision the board had to make. What did the superintendent do to get you guys on board, really, with this plan?
Well, I think that for us to understand, number one, that we have, one of the things I always talk about is that we do this work with scarce resources, and that to understand the projection of the students up to 2032 with 14,000 students that's projected. And because we have to look at long-range financial plans, I think that convinced this board that we had to make the decision.
When you look at staffing and you are closing some schools, moving kids, a major concern for teachers is their jobs. What is that going to look like? Are there enough vacancies when you start to consolidate to keep all of these teachers with the district? I'll start with you on that one, Dr.
Yeah,
Peluso.
I remember my first, my first board meeting as a deputy superintendent was coming to the board and telling them that we had 600 vacancies, right? And, at that point in time, the community did a wonderful job. Our district did a wonderful job of responding to say, we're going to fill those vacancies. And we did. And we did a really good job. But we still have positions that are filled with non-certificated, uncertified people all across the board, right? You need a boilers degree to run the boilers in a school district as a custodial, right? You need civil service for phones, and all of that is really just making sure that we have the right certified people in places. I believe through absorption, through attrition, through retirement, right, where we'll be able to absorb most of the positions, if any, that are going to be lost because of reconfiguration.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue this conversation. We do want to say last week the school district launched the Invest in Tomorrow, the district's vision for the future as it begins the implementation of this sweeping plan.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the video of what this campaign is all about.
This is a year of excitement and positive change that will bring new beginnings. It's a year of preparation and hard work, where excellence is our guiding light in both principle and practice. What does the future of our district look like as we invest in tomorrow? How do we ensure that every student feels seen, affirmed, and valued? Our students, our tomorrow. Classrooms that serve as laboratories of innovation, where students are encouraged to explore, question, and create. Highly qualified educators who set high expectations and believe in our students' potential. Invested staff who help build students' futures and dreams by cultivating a love of learning that will stay with them for a lifetime. Modernized facilities with programming to meet the diverse interests of our students. Middle schools focused on preparing students for high school academically and emotionally. Athletics that promote physical fitness, skill development, sportsmanship, and personal growth while fostering school spirit and community engagement. Safe and nurturing spaces so every student can thrive with access to school-based health centers, telemedicine, social-emotional supports, and specialized mental health services. Opportunities and resources for every student, regardless of their zip code. Technology, extracurricular activities, and real-world experiences in all of our schools. As we stand on the threshold of this remarkable journey, picture a future where our students are not just prepared for the world, but equipped to reshape it. Learning that inspires and empowers the next generation, focusing on our tomorrows today.
Yeah, as we talk about this reconfiguration plan, it is part of a broader picture to move the district forward. And as we talk about it, we have to talk about declining enrollment because that is part of the issue we're looking at tonight.
Right. According to the latest data, more than 2,500 students who live in the city of Rochester are enrolled in 99 local, private, parochial, or urban suburban schools. And nearly 7,500 are enrolled in one of 21 area charter schools.
Cynthia, you've talked about this as an issue when we talk about this plan and moving the district forward, about hopefully bringing some of those students back into the district from these different schools. Talk about the goal of doing that and why it's important. And
it really is too about showing what the city school district has to offer, right?
Exactly. And we have not done a good job in the past of educating our students. It has been about adult behaviors, and I'll be the first to admit, mine included. On the board, we were a really dysfunctional board, thinking that we were working on behalf of our children, but that did not happen. And so when you also have a dysfunctional board, you're going to have a dysfunctional central office, and you're going to have dysfunction in the schools because they look towards us. And so now we are focused in on student outcomes. And as such, we're looking at how do we bring those students back because we have not educated them properly. And so we want to get, and what I've said, and I'm on record of saying, I want every child back from those charter schools and private schools, because I think that, particularly when it comes to black and brown children, nobody can educate them better than those of us in the Rochester City School District and those who help to lead this district.
I'm curious, are you also learning from some of those schools in terms of what they've been doing to draw students in?
I don't think that is so much that what they have done is what we have not done. That's been the issue. And they have walked away with our feet. We have not provided great customer service to our families. We have not educated them correctly. We've had people who thought our children could not learn. They didn't have the best interest in our children. There was low expectation for our children. And one of the things, particularly about black and brown children, education becomes, and what I know historically in the black community, education is the great equalizer. So in order to get people out of poverty, it's important to make sure that they're educated. And I would like to also, if I may, just disagree with the myth that's out there that because children in poverty, they cannot learn. That's farthest from the truth. But there you've got that paradigm that's in our community of people who want to work with this population, but they've got to change the paradigm or the narrative that we have to look at poverty as a motivator to be educated so that our families are no longer in poverty.
Well said. Now, speaking of families and building that relationship, that's of course been a concern to some of these families, but talk about the opportunity to strengthen the relationship for families and students.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we led this school year with, right? It's just the expectation of just being okay is not okay, right? We're breeding a sense of excellence and pride in everything we do, right? And that comes to how someone is treated from the moment they walk in the door to placement to how they walk the halls in our schools, right? And how they're instructed and how we interact with our families. We're entering a special lottery, right? And the expectation is, from my end, is that every parent has a contact and a touch point throughout this to make sure that they know the information they need to when they're making a decision, right? So every question they have is answered, right? That if they haven't completed a special lottery, that we're making every attempt we can to get to that family to say, is there any information of why you need, that you don't have in terms of making an informed decision? So, I think President Elliott hit it on the head when she mentioned customer service, right? There's, people are leaving us when they don't feel heard or feel like they've been able to access us or be reached to us. So we have to enhance our area in that, and I think once we reorganize ourselves in a structure that makes sense, right, and then you're able to implement systems that make sense for people, and then we have a better response rate. We could treat people, we could address people, we could hold everyone accountable for how their interactions are. But for me, it was how we started the year. It's okay is not good enough anymore, right? Excellence is what is going to drive our mission this year.
We're going to continue that conversation about the lottery as well, because we want to make sure those families are informed. We are going to take a quick break, but still ahead here tonight.
We are sitting down with a Rochester City school student, also a delegate to the school board. We're going to get his thoughts on all these changes.
Welcome back to our 13 Wham Town Hall special. Now we are getting the student perspective on the Rochester City School District's plan. David Bouillon is also the student delegate to the Board of Education.
Thanks so much for joining us, David. What has your school, your high school, Rochester Early College, it is going to be moving. What has this been like at the school? What are your fellow students and classmates, what do they have to say about all this?
There's a lot of excitement. You know, our school has been around for about 12 years, and we share a building with a middle school. We live on the top floor, the third floor, and that's been a hard, adjustment. You know, freshmen come in, they come from their own middle school, and they come to a high school where we're sharing a building with another, we're sharing a building, right? So us moving to our own building, having our own autonomy and having our own space is really something that we've been looking forward to for a long time. And I've just heard a lot of excitement from the students, especially students who play sports. They get to have their own gym that's fully themselves. We can deck it out. The Cobras can finally have their own gym, things of that nature. So we're really excited, and we're really looking forward to the change and move, honestly.
Yeah. David, I think for us, we tend to focus on the challenges that the school district faces because they are real challenges that need to be addressed. But from the student perspective, what has your experience been? I know you're going to graduate soon. What's your experience been in Rochester City Schools, and how has it prepared you for your future?
So honestly, I've been in RCSC since I was in kindergarten. So I've been through every single leadership change, and I would just honestly say that I've had a great high school experience because of all the people that have been around me, my teachers, my counselors. I know that experience isn't universal for all students, but seeing Invest in Tomorrow and what the district is pushing now with its new leadership, I think we have great, we're preparing our students for the future a lot. And for me personally, being in this position has opened a lot of doors for me, networking-wise, right? I'll be a first-generation college student, but also a first-generation high school student to graduate. And, I'm proud to say that I'm also an RCSD alumni soon to be in the future. So I think that the RCSD, while it does have its challenges, it does have a lot of grit and family, and we all persevere. So I think that no matter what, we all stick together, and I think this kind of shows it all.
I just want to jump in. Dr. Peluso, when you hear David talk about something like that, because again, I know being in the media too, we do focus on the challenges, but there's positive happening in the district, and you are making changes.
It's remarkable, right? So you can't sit here and not have a smile on your face and not be so happy, right? Because David's great. We have a lot of Davids as well, but David is a great voice, and he does great, amazing things for our community. I go to our Student Leadership Congress, and you see them do amazing things every single day, and David's the president of the Student Leadership Congress. So you see this group of kids that do really amazing things. And he said it, right? It's your teachers, it's your educators, it's your relationships, it's bringing that sense of community to support. And our strategic planning team, we have 4 students on it. They steal the show. It is remarkable. And we have 20,000 students, and we have a lot of Davids that do some amazing things. But he's remarkable. He's been great to the board. He's grounded me. I go to Student Leadership Congress. He puts it on a table and tells it how it is, right? He tells me how it is. So he's a voice that obviously every superintendent is proud to have.
Can you talk a little bit more about the student input on this plan? Because it's not just families and parents and teachers that you hear from.
Yeah, obviously students, for me it was important just hearing certain things from the students is, right, Rochester Early College didn't have their own building, right? That was something that was resonated from the start. They're one of the highest performing schools in Monroe County, right? That 98% graduation rate a couple of years ago. So they perform extremely well, and they didn't have their own space, right? We had buildings that were sharing 7th and 8th grade with 9th through 12th, and there were some things that I was hearing as a superintendent, and I've been in this district back as a principal, chief, deputy superintendent for some time, and I heard of these complaints about, well, we're sharing business. 7th and 8th graders are with 9th through 12s, K-8s are with 7, 12, so 7, 12. So those are what led a lot of those decisions and changes.
Well, hey, congratulations to you on graduating here soon. Beautiful. Now, we are going to continue this conversation coming up. What families need to know about getting your students enrolled. The special lottery deadline just weeks away now. Stay tuned.
All right, the special lottery for families of displaced students to select a new school in their zone opened up just last week.
They have until January 5th to apply for the lottery through the district's website.
We are joined once again by Dr. Peluso and School Board President Cynthia Elliott. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to start with Dr. Peluso, how this lottery works, because this is really important information that our students, for students and families that are impacted by the changes here.
Yeah, so we have a portal, right, where families could sign into, and they select the choice of a school within their zone. You know, as you know, the closing schools are, some families live in different zones from where their schools are closing. So we want to provide them an opportunity for a school within their zone. They go into the app, they put in their choices, they rank their choices, and then the special lottery will run from the family choices based on where there are seats available, and we will fill those seats to the max.
How many students are we talking about here?
You know, overall, we're talking about approximately 4,500 students district-wide that are impacted by the reconfiguration.
And what's the response been like so far, with the lottery having been open now for a little bit?
You know, we haven't heard much yet. I think we just got off the ground with the lottery. So for me, what's important, I've asked our team to give me a weekly update on what are the number of families that have participated in the lottery, and then what are the contacts that have been made for the families that have not participated in the lottery. So we just want to make sure that everyone is informed. And then I've asked all of the buildings to run open houses as well. You know, just as an opportunity, if those opportunities don't work, families can call any school, and you know, someone's going to be able to assist and answer questions that they may have. So you know, it's really just making sure that parents make as best of an informed decision as they can. We want them to be in a school that they would like to be in, and then you know, complete the lottery.
Yeah, really about getting the word out there so they know the steps they need to take to figure out what's next for that student. Cynthia, the board has discussed making this a smooth transition, or as smooth as possible for the students. How are you going about that?
Well, you know, we have to just make sure that we hold the superintendent accountable around that, because we also hear from families as well. Now, I have not, and I don't know of any other board members that have heard from a lot of families around this this change. But for me, it's it's about relationships for me, and I focus on that a lot in our district and on our board, that we have to make sure that as we're moving in this process, that we're treating our families with dignity and respect. It's already a change, and how do we help them to mitigate any kinds of, you know, issues is in terms of how we are treating them, and that we're responding to their concerns, and that we're affirming their concerns, that we're affirming that, you know, they're hurt, that they have to, you know, students have to leave their friends, and, you know, families have to, you know, have another school to place their children in. So we have to accept the criticism of that, but we have to treat them with dignity and respect, and we have to help them to move through that process. And I think that the superintendent's staff is able to do that.
I was going to say, these students are not a number in a lottery system.
They cannot
They are
be a
young
number.
people with families who are going to be
That's
affected
right.
by this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so is that partially what these open houses are about? What can families expect? The first one's tomorrow. What can families expect when they head to one?
You know, I think it's just the opportunity for them to ask questions, right? Every family brings a different perspective when they're walking into the building, right? If it's what type of programming, what type of after-school programming they may have, what type of, you know, how many students are in the school, what's the configuration look like? So it's, you know, families may have unique questions just particularly to their need, and then also for the opportunity for the school to share what it does well, how it highlights some of their areas, right? Every school has a unique flavor to it.
One more technical question about the lottery so families know. What happens if they don't apply through this system?
So if they don't apply through the system, they'll be assigned a school that's closest to them, right?
Okay.
You know, and so, you know, which is important, because I just want to make a connotation. If it's, you know, we do transportation for a certain mileage and a certain distance. So if a school's close, you may not get transportation. If you're looking for transportation, you may also want to look for a school that's a little bit further away within your zone. So there's a lot of factors to it. That's why I'm really, you know, talking with the team to make sure that we have a contact, and we make every single opportunity to reach out to a family to make sure that they know they're making, they need to make a decision. And we're going to do every effort we can to make sure that we reach them.
And if I may just interject here, this is where the decision is going to be made whether they stay in the district or they select another program. And I want to make sure that the process is so smooth and it's so welcoming that they still continue to want to place their children in the school district.
You want to retain these students.
I want to retain the students.
Yeah.
And bring some other ones too.
Bring some others, that's right.
Now, logistically, I cannot imagine what that's like. Can you talk a little bit about that? The buildings being moved, classrooms changing and shutting down and reopening. How's that all going to work?
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've closed schools in the district, right? It's something that we've done before, just not to this magnitude. So we obviously have a project management team, right, that is scoping all of the work. We have a project manager assigned to the work, right, and there's deadlines and work streams that people have to do to meet. We have movers lined up. We have a warehouse that is going to the board for approval so that we can sort. So all of the pieces are moving. It is a monumental project to manage, but it's, once again, the right project to do at the right time.
You think about moving your own home.
Yeah.
You get in a U-Haul, loading that stuff
That's
up,
right.
magnify that quite a bit. How many students are going to be moving to new schools as a result of this reconfiguration plan? Do you have a ballpark number?
So I think we're about 4,500 in terms
So-
of.
Okay, so a significant
Okay.
number. Yeah.
Well, I think you've kind of touched on this, but what is your message to families, students, teachers right now who may not be as excited, who just are feeling worried?
I think it's important for us to listen to those conversations. We have to accept the criticism, but we have to maintain that we've got to make this, that we are moving forward with this plan. I know the feeling that it hurts, but I think that if we continue to listen to the criticism, not react to it, accept it, embrace it, and do this work and do it correctly. And I think that that's going to help to mitigate a lot of the emotions that may go with this, these changes.
It's driven by instructional excellence, right? That all the decisions are made to provide a child with the best instructional instruction they can receive, best extracurricular opportunities they can receive. And I think what you're going to see is a sense of community start to be created around schools and and buildings, and that is what drives us, right? And we've seen it a little bit recently, right? We've seen it at Monroe and we've seen it at East, as they've just won sectional titles and they go through, right? You could see the excitement of those things, and we're really trying to harness in on providing those opportunities for all kids so that our families are excited, that they're in great facilities. There's a sense of pride that when you say you're a Rochester City School District student, you're saying it loud and proud, and that's where I think we'll be.
And while this may feel drastic for some families, this reconfiguration plan is meant to build those communities so they can be long-term, I imagine, right?
That's right.
So you don't have to do this again in, say, 10 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I also think, let me just add this in, while they may not agree with the decision, if you have a relationship with the community, they will respect the decision. So, and that's important, that we're not going to always agree, but if you have the respect of the community, they will embrace that, even though it's a difficult decision.
Since we are streaming online, we're not on a time limit. I just want to ask you both, is there anything we missed that you want families to know this evening?
I think that this, obviously we know, and I know that this isn't easy, right? This is one of the toughest things that I had to do, and I had to face all 11 of those buildings, families, staff, and community. We don't take these decisions lightly, but trust me when I say that we will be in a better place.
I think that for me, I want to lead with love, and that, in all families there are disagreements, but that the basis of what many of us do on the school board in these positions, we do it for love of our community. And that I want that to be conveyed, that even though these are difficult decisions, these decisions are made out of because we love this community. I've been doing this work for about 50 years. You heard a story that I mentioned earlier. So I've been doing this work for a long time. And it is out of a position of love that I do for my community that this work is being done.
Yeah. You want to see the district and these students succeed.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, both of you,
Thank
and
you.
to our student David as well. And thank you for joining us for this Town Hall special on the Rochester City School District's reconfiguration plan.
And a final reminder for impacted families, complete the lottery application process before the January 5th deadline. We've got a link to the district's website with all the information on the special lottery, as well as the upcoming school open houses on our website, 13wham.com. Thank you so much for watching.